Hello everyone, I am B. Shobharani from the Department of Biology, Vidyashram Pre-University College, Mysore, the Temple of Excellence. Dear 2nd PUC Biology students, hope you all remember in my session 3 of this chapter called Human Reproduction. What did you learn in my session 3 of this chapter called Human Reproduction? We learnt about the menstrual cycle, which is a very important reproductive cycle in the female primates, and this menstrual cycle which involved various phases you studied. Then also we moved on to the next very important concept called fertilization, and then we moved on to implantation, right? So in my today's session of the continuing chapter called Human Reproduction, what are the concepts you all are going to learn today? The concepts which you all are going to learn today is about the placenta, right? And then we are going to learn about a very important event in sexual reproduction called parturition, and a very important event called lactation, right? And also we are going to add a note on the sex determination in a child, right? So moving on to the first concept of today's session called placenta, a very important concept to be learned in today's session. After implantation, what is implantation? You have studied in the last session. Implantation is nothing but the attachment of the blastocyst to the endometrial lining of the uterus is called implantation. So after implantation, how is this placenta formed? Now we have to study how this placenta is formed in the developing fetus. So after implantation, finger-like projections appear on the trophoblast surrounded by the uterine tissue, right? Implantation, what happens? Finger-like projections appear on the trophoblast called chorionic villi, and this chorionic villi is surrounded by the maternal or uterine tissue as well as maternal blood, and this chorionic villi along with the uterine tissue forms a placenta. I repeat, after implantation, finger-like projections appear on the trophoblast, and these finger-like projections are called as what? Chorionic villi. And this chorionic villi is surrounded by what? It is surrounded by uterine tissue as well as maternal blood. And the chorionic villi along with the uterine tissue forms a very important structural and functional unit between the developing fetus and the maternal body, and that is called as placenta. So placenta, in other words, you can say it's a combination of chorionic villi and the uterine tissue. So these two together forms what? Interdigitated to form a structure called placenta, right? What is placenta then? How do we define the word called placenta then? It is an organic connection. What is it? It is an organic connection between the developing fetus and the maternal body, through which various physiological exchanges will take place, right? So what is placenta? In other words, it is a structural and functional unit between the developing embryo, or what we call it as fetus, and the maternal body is called placenta. What is the other definition for placenta? It is an organic connection between whom? Between the developing fetus and the maternal body. And what happens between the maternal body and the placenta? There is an exchange of various physiological exchanges are going to take place, or in other words, it is the structural and functional unit between the developing fetus and the maternal body. Now what is the importance of placenta to the developing fetus? What is the function of this placenta? Now let us study what is the important functions of this placenta, right? Now placenta facilitates, what do you mean by facilitate? Supplies oxygen and nutrients to the developing fetus. So what is the very important function of placenta? It facilitates the supply of oxygen and nutrients to the developing fetus, and at the same time also helps in the removal of the excretory waste as well as carbon dioxide from the fetus. So it supplies at the same time removes. Supplies what? Supplies oxygen, very important, right? Supplies oxygen and nutrients to the developing fetus, and at the same time what does it do? It removes the excretory waste that is formed in the developing fetus, excretory waste material as well as the gaseous waste called carbon dioxide. This is a very important question which is asked in the PU board examination in your question paper. What is placenta? What are the important functions of placenta? What is the definition of placenta, children? Placenta is nothing but an organic connection, or it is a structural and functional unit between whom? Between the developing fetus and the maternal body. How is it formed? As I said, the chorionic villi along with the uterine tissue get interdigitated to form a structural and functional unit called placenta, right? And what is the importance or the functions of placenta? It supplies oxygen and supplies nutrients which is necessary for the growth of the developing fetus, and at the same time also helps in the removal of the gaseous waste, that is carbon dioxide, and the excretory nitrogenous waste, right? So placenta plays a very great role in the developing fetus, right? Now moving on to the next very important concept. Hope you have studied about endocrine glands in your first PUC, right? What are endocrine glands? Endocrine glands are nothing but ductless glands which produce certain secretions, or what we call them as hormones. So chemical substances are called as hormones. There are many number of endocrine glands like the testes, the ovary, adrenal gland, thyroid, parathyroid, right, pineal gland, etc., etc. But here even placenta also acts as an endocrine gland. See the unique feature of this placenta, right? It also acts as what? An endocrine gland. So what is the very important significance of endocrine gland? It secretes certain secretions which have a great role to play in various physiological processes of the body. And this placenta also acts as an endocrine gland. How? By producing certain important hormones. Like what? Like one called HCG. Expand HCG, they'll ask for one mark question. What is HCG? Expand human chorionic gonadotrophin. So one hormone is HCG. The other hormone is called HPL. What is HPL? Human placental lactogen. And another hormone is called estrogen. The other one is called progestogen. See, because it produces hormones like HCG, HPL, estrogen and progestogen, even placenta also acts as an endocrine gland. This is asked in your exam. Placenta acts as an endocrine gland. Justify the statement. Why it acts as an endocrine gland? Because it also produces hormones like HCG, HPL, estrogen and progestogen, which has a great role to play during the process of pregnancy and during the process of parturition. So that is the reason why all these hormones have a great role to play, right? And in the later phase of pregnancy, almost at the time of delivery, another hormone called relaxin is also secreted by the ovary. So along with these hormones of placenta, there is one more hormone called relaxin which is produced by the ovary. Hope you have understood why placenta is called as an endocrine gland. So along with supplying oxygen, nutrients and along with removal of the excretory waste, placenta also acts as an endocrine gland. So name the hormones produced by placenta if they ask. One is HCG. Expand HCG, human chorionic gonadotrophin. Next one is HPL, human placental lactogen. Next one is what? Estrogen. Next one is what? Progestogen. And in the later phase of the pregnancy, one more hormone is released. What is the name of the hormone? Called relaxin, but it is not by placenta, it is by ovary. So relaxin is a hormone which is produced by the ovary in the later phase of the pregnancy. Hope you have understood about what is placenta. Then after implantation, the inner cell mass gets differentiated into 3 germinal layers. So before we study this concept, now let us understand how the embryo develops, right? After implantation, the inner cell mass gets differentiated into 3 layers, that is outer ectoderm, inner endoderm and middle mesoderm. So what are the three germ layers? One is outer ectoderm, inner endoderm and middle mesoderm. You may ask, like, what is the function of these three germ layers? Very important function is there about these three germ layers. These three germ layers will give rise to tissues and tissues into organs, right? Sometimes the cells of the innermost cell is also called as stem cells. And these stem cells of the inner cell mass have the potency to give rise to all types of tissues and organs. That is the reason why, particularly nowadays, these stem cells are used in the field of medicine to cure many diseases. Why? Because stem cells have the capacity or the potency to produce all types of tissues and organs. So this is also very helpful in the field of medicine to cure many diseases, right? And I think all of you know, human pregnancy lasts for how many months? It lasts for 9 months. As we say, this 9 months of human pregnancy is otherwise called as what? It is called as gestation period. Right, so the human pregnancy lasts for how many months? It lasts for 9 months. What do you call that as? Gestation period. Now let us see how the embryo develops. I think you might be curious to know how the embryo develops. You can see in this beautiful picture, the baby just how the fetus is developed. Now let us see what happens. As I said, the gestation period is 9 months. What happens in the first month of pregnancy? When a female is pregnant, when she comes to know that she is pregnant and she is of 1 month pregnancy period, the embryo's heart is formed. Very important, children. First and foremost, heart is formed. And also you can also listen to the heart sounds carefully with the stethoscope, which will make you understand whether the fetus is growing properly or not. So heart, first what is formed? Heart is formed. And the growth of the developing fetus can be noticed by listening carefully to the heart sounds with a stethoscope. So after the first month of pregnancy, what is formed? Heart is formed. And what can you observe? You can also observe the initiation of the heart sounds, right? In the second month of the pregnancy period, you can see the development of limbs and digits. So in the first month of pregnancy, what is formed? First, heart is formed. Right, also you can notice the heart sounds carefully with a stethoscope. And in the second month, what do you observe? You can observe the growth of or development of limbs and digits, right? And by the end of 12 week, by the end of 12 week means it is 3 months of pregnancy. It is also called as first trimester. 12 weeks, or it is called 3 months, or it is called first trimester. So what do you observe here? Here you can see the major organ system like the limbs and external genital organs are also formed. So here you can see almost all the organs, formation of all the organs takes place by the end of the first trimester or the 12 week of pregnancy, right? Then during the 5th month, the first movement of the developing fetus can be felt by the mother, right? And also you can see the appearance of hair on the head. This is a wonderful experience for a mother to feel the movements of the developing fetus, which she will come across in the 5th month. So what happens in the first month? First month, heart formation will take place. Second month, limbs and digits, followed by the end of 12th week or 3 months or first trimester, almost all the major organs are formed, and also you can see the external genital organs also formed. During the 5th month, the first movements of the developing fetus is felt, and also there is appearance of hair on the head. And by the end of 24 weeks, which is called the second trimester. First trimester 12 weeks, second trimester is 24 weeks, right? Here what do you come across? Here you can come across the body is covered with fine hair. The body is covered with fine hair and eyelids separate. You can see the eyelids separating, and also you can see the eyelashes being formed. So what happens at the end of 24 weeks? body covers with fine hair, eyelids separate and eyelashes are formed. By the end of the 9 months of pregnancy, the fetus is completely developed. As I said, the gestation period is 9 months. So by the end of 9 months, the fetus is completely developed and now it is ready to be delivered. So now the delivery of the baby or delivery of the child takes place, right? So let us brief up again what are the major events. As I said, after implantation, the inner cell mass gets differentiated into 3 germinal layers: ectoderm, endoderm and mesoderm, and all these 3 germ layers will help in the formation of what? Tissues, and tissues into organs, right? For example, like the ectoderm, you can see the process of formation of lacrimal glands, salivary glands, and mesoderm helps in the formation of bone, right? And particularly the endoderm helps in the formation of the thymus gland, parathyroid gland, etc., etc. So most of the major organs are formed by these 3 germ layers. And as I said, the cells of the innermost cell are also called as stem cells, which has the capacity or potency to produce almost all types of tissues and organs. That is the reason why stem cells are used in the field of medicine to cure many diseases, right? And as I said, human pregnancy lasts for how many months? It lasts for 9 months. The first month, you can see what is formed. After the first month, heart is formed, and you can also notice the growing of the fetus by listening to the heart sounds carefully with a stethoscope. So first month, heart is formed. Second month, limbs and digits are formed, and by the end of 12 week, first trimester, that is means what? Third month. Third month, what do you observe? You can observe almost major organ systems are formed, and during the 5th month, what happens? Movement of the fetus can be felt by the mother, and at the same time there you can see the appearance of hair on the head. Very important during the 5th month. Then by the end of 24 weeks, which you call it as second trimester, the body is covered with fine hair and eyelids separate and the eyelashes are formed. And after the last, that is at the end of the 9 months of pregnancy, the fetus is completely developed and now it is ready to be delivered. Hope you have understood what are the major features of embryonic development at various months of pregnancy in human beings. Here you can see, and here you can see the amniotic fluid, children, and this amniotic fluid acts as a cradle. Amniotic fluid is very, very important. So it protects the developing fetus, right? And here you can see the umbilical cord, which is a connection. It is a supplier. From the placenta, all the nutrients are supplied to the developing fetus through this umbilical cord, and at the same time the impurities like the excretory waste, the excretory gas like carbon dioxide is carried back by the umbilical cord to the placenta. So placenta does both the job, that is supply of oxygen and nutrients to the developing fetus, and at the same time removal of the excretory waste and as well as carbon dioxide from the developing fetus. So here this is how the picture looks. Here you can see the finger-like projections. As I said, finger-like projections is nothing but what? Chorionic villi. Chorionic villi along with uterine tissue forms what? Placenta. Right, and what is placenta? Placenta is an organic connection between the developing fetus and the maternal body. Hope you have understood this concept. This is a very important concept from examination point of view. And not only, and this chapter called human reproduction, the concepts what you have learnt in this human chapter called human reproduction is very, very important from examination point of view. And not only that, you are going to gain knowledge about as to what is human reproduction, what are the reproductive organs, what is fertilization, what is gametogenesis, what is menstrual cycle, what is parturition, what is lactation, etc., etc. So the knowledge will definitely help you out in your lifetime, children, right? Now moving on to the next very important concept called parturition. Now the baby is completely developed and now it is ready to be delivered. What do you call the delivery of the baby? It is otherwise called parturition, or you can also use the word called childbirth. parturition is also called as childbirth. Hope you see in this beautiful diagram, this is a picture of a normal delivery. You may wonder, what is this normal delivery? Without undergoing any surgery, the delivery will take place. The baby is delivered, and that is called normal delivery, right? There's one more process of delivery of the child called C-section, which is nothing but called cesarean section, which is done through surgery. I will just show it to you all in the next slide. Now let us understand how this parturition takes place. As I said, what is parturition? Parturition is nothing but childbirth or the delivery of the baby. What happens here during this very important event of sexual reproduction? You observe vigorous, very strong contractions of the uterus will take place at the end of the pregnancy. Due to this vigorous or stronger and stronger contractions of the uterus, then what do you find? Causes expulsion or delivery of the fetus. So due to this vigorous or stronger contractions of the uterus, the baby is expelled out. That expulsion of the baby through the vaginal canal or through the birth canal is called parturition. As I said, parturition is nothing but childbirth. How it is caused? Now let us see what is the mechanism. Actually, parturition is a very complex mechanism. So what is the mechanism that is involved in parturition called? It is called neuroendocrine mechanism. As I said, parturition is induced by a complex neuroendocrine mechanism. Hope you will remember I told you placenta also produces certain endocrine hormones like HCG, HPL, estrogen and progestogen, and the signals for parturition originate from the fully developed fetus and the placenta. Because of these signals, there is mild uterine contractions taking place. First, mild uterine contractions will take place, and that mild uterine contractions caused by the signals given by the developing fetus as well as the placenta is called fetal ejection reflex. Let me repeat, what is ejection reflex? It is nothing but the signals for parturition that is originated from whom? From the fully developed fetus and the placenta. So that signals cause what? Cause uterine contractions, mild uterine contractions, and that mild uterine contractions caused by the signals given by the developing fetus and the placenta is called fetal ejection reflex. This is a very important concept which is asked in the examination. What is parturition? What is fetal ejection reflex? Let me repeat. What is parturition? Parturition is nothing but called childbirth. How is it caused? How is the childbirth taking place? Vigorous contractions or stronger and stronger contractions of the uterus will take place leading to the expulsion of the baby, and that process is called as parturition. Right, and as I said, parturition is not a very simple process. It is not a simple process to happen. It has some complex mechanism. What is that complex mechanism called? Complex mechanism is called neuroendocrine mechanism. And what happens here? The signals for parturition originate from the fully developed fetus as well as the placenta. Because of these signals, what happens? There are mild uterine contractions. So uterus will start contracting very mildly in the beginning, and that is called as fetal ejection reflex. Right, and this is the picture of a normal delivery. You can see how the baby is delivered. First the head comes out from the vaginal canal or from the birth canal. Right, moving on to the remaining part of this concept called parturition. Here you can see this is called C-section. C-section is otherwise called cesarean section. So here through a surgery the process is done, and here you can see the baby is just lifted up. So it is just like lifting a baby from a flower basket, right? So that is called C-section, cesarean section, where the mother will have to undergo surgery and the baby is lifted. And this is because when normal delivery is not induced, then they have to, and there are certain reasons when at times of emergency the C-section has to be undertaken. It's not like always, right? It's a wrong notion that every time a doctor does C C-section instead of going for normal delivery. The females may come across some complications. At that time, the doctor needs to save the mother as well as the baby. So at that time, the only way to save the mother and the baby is through C-section, which is called cesarean section, where the female has to undergo surgery by a gynecologist, and then the baby is just removed, like just removing, taking out the baby from the basket of flowers, right? Now, as I said, the signals will cause what? Fetal ejection reflex, and this triggers what? Release of oxytocin from the maternal pituitary. One thing you'll have to remember, children, that pituitary gland is divided into two parts. One is called the anterior part, the other one is called the posterior part. Actually, the oxytocin is released from the posterior part. Anterior part of pituitary, called adenohypophysis, releases the hormones of its own kind, secretes the hormones of its own kind. Already you have come across in the previous sessions FSH and LH. FSH is what? Follicle stimulating hormone. What is LH? Luteinizing hormone. Both are very important. Gonadotrophins, which is very much important for spermatogenesis as well as for menstrual cycle. This is produced by anterior pituitary. But the posterior pituitary does not produce the hormones of its own kind. Then it just receives the hormones from the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus. You know, it is called master of master gland. Pituitary is called master gland. Hypothalamus is called master of master gland, right? And this hypothalamus releases two types of hormones. One is called oxytocin, which is also called as birth hormone, right? And the other one is called vasopressin. All this you have studied in first PUC, right? So the posterior, that is the hypothalamus, produces two types of hormones. One is called oxytocin, the other one is called vasopressin. Vasopressin is also called ADH, which regulates the water level in the kidney, right? So these two hormones are just received by the posterior pituitary. Hope I am clear. As I said, oxytocin and vasopressin. Oxytocin is a hormone which is produced by the hypothalamus, received by the posterior pituitary, right? Now, this fetal ejection reflex triggers the release of oxytocin from the maternal pituitary. Because of this hormone called oxytocin, there is vigorous and stronger contractions of the uterine wall will take place, ultimately leading to the expulsion of the baby out of the uterus. Because of that stronger contractions of the uterine wall, then the baby is expelled out. But this happens in normal delivery, but in C-section it is not. Because this what you call it as vigorous contractions of the uterus does not take place, then the alternative way is what? C-section, right? So this, that is the fetal ejection reflex, will trigger the release of oxytocin from the posterior pituitary. As I said, posterior pituitary just receives the oxytocin from the hypothalamus. Hence the name oxytocin is called as neurohormone, right? And this oxytocin leads to what? Will cause what? Rigorous or vigorous contractions of the uterus, and ultimately what happens? The baby is expelled out through the birth canal, and expulsion of the baby through the birth canal, as I said, is called parturition, which is nothing but called what? Childbirth. Such a nice mechanism, children, to learn, right? See how beautifully the baby is born. So that is why we always say that mother is great. We need to respect our mother, because mother, it is like a rebirth for a mother to give birth to a child, right? So this is a very complicated process where the mother has to undergo. So soon after the infant is delivered, the placenta is expelled out of the uterus. Even the placenta is also expelled out of the uterus, right? So hope you have understood the concepts of parturition, how parturition takes place, right? Then moving on to the last part of this session called lactation. Lactation is again a very important process. I think in the previous sessions you have studied mammary glands are the functional mammary glands are the characteristic features of the females. So this mammary gland will undergo differentiation during pregnancy, right? So this mammary gland will undergo differentiation during pregnancy, that is during the 9 months of pregnancy, and starts producing milk at the end end of pregnancy, and that process of production of milk by the mother at the end of pregnancy is called lactation. And as you all know, this milk that is produced by the mother is very much important to feed the newborn child. So the newborn child should be fed with the mother's breast milk. As you know, breast milk is the best milk for the newborns, as it also contains the milk that is produced for the first time. The initial few days milk is called colostrum, and this colostrum has a very important antibody called IgA. IgA means what? Ig means immunoglobulin. It is nothing but antibody. There are 5 types of antibody, and one such antibody is IgA. What is the feature of this antibody? It provides immunity to the developing fetus, the child in the future course of its lifetime. So the first immunity what a child gets is from the mother's first milk called colostrum. So that is the reason why women soon after the childbirth has to feed her young one, that is the newborn one or the newborn child. And the milk that is produced in the initial days of lactation is called colostrum. As I said, it contains what? It contains several antibodies, and which is these antibodies are essential to what? To develop resistance against diseases for the newborn baby. So you can see the difference between the children that are fed with breast milk and between those children which are not fed with the breast milk. The children which are grown through the breast milk will definitely have greater immunity than the other children, right? Now, there's one more concept to be learned, that is the sex determination in children. I think all of you know that is sex determination in children, which you can learn, which will start from the fertilization stage. So you can determine the sex of a child in the fertilization stage. So as you know, male is heterogametic, will have 2 sperms carrying X and Y chromosome. As you know, females are homogametic, containing one ovum contains only X chromosome, right? So males are heterogametic, they have 2 sperm, 2 chromosomes X and Y, whereas females are homogametic because they carry only 1 X chromosome. After fusion of the sperm with the ovum, the zygote that is formed, if it carries XY chromosome, then it will be a male child. And the zygote which carries XX chromosome will be a female child. So sex determination is a very important concept also to be noted. As I said, actually how does it takes place? So the gametes, that is 1X from mother and 1X from mother and 1Y from father, if it comes, then it is, see, if 1X comes from mother and another X comes from father, then it will be a female child. If 1X comes from mother and Y comes from father, it is a male child. So this is a male child and this is a female child. Hope you have understood all the concepts what we have studied in this very important chapter called human reproduction. So with all these concepts, I have completed this very important chapter called human reproduction. Hope you have understood all the concepts from my session 1 to session 4, and the diagrams are also very important, children. So try to learn all the concepts very carefully as well as the diagrams. This chapter is very important from examination point of view. So children, what are we going to study in the next session? In the next session, you all are going to deal with a very important chapter 2 of your syllabus called sexual reproduction in flowering plant. This is also a very interesting chapter, right? So till then, goodbye. Thank you.